You are listening to Following On. I'm Andrew McKenna and I'm joined by the former England fast bowler Jade Dernbach and the former IPL batter Abhishek Jhunjhunwala to look back at this fourth T20 between India and England as India seal the series with a 15-run victory. We'll reflect on crucial innings for both Harshit Pandya and Shivam Dube. We'll be discussing another collapse from an England point of view. And we'll have to review and have a look at the concussion sub-controversy. We'll also hear from both captains as well. So plenty to come over the next 20 minutes or so. This is Following On. Right then. England have lost. It means the series has gone. They have gone down by 15 runs in this fourth T20 international in Pune. Let's rewind to back to the start. England actually won the toss on this one, put India into bat, and when the second over had been complete, England had India 12 for 3. Shakib Mahmood bowled a triple wicket maiden, getting Sanju Samson, Tilak Varma in consecutive deliveries, and Surya Kumar Yadav. So 12 for 3. However, India managed to get themselves back into it. Abhishek Sharma made 29, Rinku Singh made 30, Shivam Dube 53, Harshit Pandya also chipped in with 53. So they ended up with 181 for 9. Shakib finished the most successful bowler, as I mentioned, 0 for 3 after one over. He ended up with 3 for 35 from 4. The other wickets taken by Jamie Overton, 2 for 32, Bryden Cast 1 for 39, Adil Rashid 1 for 35, Jofra Archer went wicketless, 0 for 37. So England set 182 for victory, and Sultan Duckett got them underway with the best partnership of the series so far. 62 was on the board before Duckett was out, skying Bishnoi and Surya Kumar Yadav taking the catch. That was 62 for 1. That became 65 for 2 when Akshar bowled Phil Salts, and then 67 for 3 when Jos Buttler was caught by Harshit off the bowling of Bishnoi. Livingston was dismissed for 9 to make it 95 for 4. Then a bit of a partnership. Harry Brook making 51 from 26 was the fifth man out, 129 for 5, and England by that point were in trouble. Cast went for a second ball duck to the bowling of Chakravarti. Bethel 6 from 9 before being caught off the bowling of Harshit Rana as well. And then Overton 19 from 15 balls. Archer a 2-ball duck. Adil Rashid 10 from 6 was not out. Shakib Mahmood last man out, 1 from 2 balls. England 166 all out. Harshit Rana 3 for 33. Ravi Bishnoi 3 for 28. Poor blimey. Jade Dernbach, I'm going to turn to you first and foremost, because let's start with the bowling performance from England. After 2 overs, we're all getting giddy. 12 for 3? My goodness. What will we do with the extra hour we were going to have? Because this game was going to be done and dusted. England would have it wrapped up, and we'd be heading off to Mumbai for a decider on Sunday. Yeah, we got lulled into that one, didn't we? But let's start with that. What a brilliant first over from Shakib Mahmood.
Yeah, it was a wonderful reintroduction to international cricket for Shakib Mahmood. He's obviously had a long time out. He's been sat on the sideline certainly for the first 3 games leading up to this point. So he would have been eager to get a good start, and he certainly did that. 3 wickets in that opening over, just challenging the stumps really, keeping it nice and simple. Bit of inward movement, downfall of 2 to 3 Indian batters in the end. So it was a great start, and then all of a sudden we kept a bit of pressure on throughout the innings. I think India ended up about 79 for 5 after 10 overs, so all was pretty square and equal at that point. They then go on to make 182, which essentially, we're talking 10 runs and over from the 10th over onwards, with a couple of overs and 2 to 3. So we ask, what are the reasons behind that? For most of the innings, the England bowlers decided to use the pitch to their advantage. There was a bit of two-paced bounce in it. They were erring on the side of short. Dube in some discomfort from time to time, and ended up being hit on the head eventually and having to be replaced with a concussion substitution. But there was a 2 to 3 over period where England sort of steered away from that plan, which had been so successful up until that point. and they paid the ultimate price. Hardik Pandya came in with a quite wonderful innings, struck the ball beautifully with a half-century. Dube as well himself with a half-century, but we made it rather easy for them to get those runs on the board, and then all of a sudden we found ourselves up against it.
Abhishek Jhunjhunwala, there were some fabulous shots played, but that middle order of Rinku Singh, Shivam Dube and Hardik Pandya, 30, 53, 53 respectively. So that's 136 out of the 181 between them. Did they bat better than England bowled, or did England not bowl well enough at those three to get India back into it?
I think it was a combination of both, because England did bowl brilliantly at the start, but then they took their time. After that drop catch of Shivam Dube straight away, yes, he was a bit worried about the short delivery, but he calculated it quite well. I think he knew that Jofra Archer just got one over, so whenever he bowled, he was very happy to take a single. The game awareness shown by them was really good, and whenever they got the opportunity after that to score runs, and England, as Jade mentioned, in that there was a period of 2-3 overs where they kept bowling full and they got penalized heavily. In those 3 overs, India scored nearly 50 runs, and that's the difference between winning and losing a game. So they got off their plan with the ball, and the same thing happened when they batted as well. There was a period of 3 or 4 overs where they let the whole game slip.
The England approach to T20, you kind of know what you're going to get from them, because it's the way they play all the time. But Adil Rashid is England's number 10. There was a time when you would say to 9, 10 and Jack, don't even bother bringing your bat and your pads, it's a T20 game, you're not going to get a knock. 4 games played, Adil Rashid has batted in all 4 games. The England lower order is batting far too much, isn't it, Jade? I mean, you don't want to turn this into a batters and bowlers thing here, but if you're Jofra Archer, Mark Wood, Adil Rashid, yeah, I know they enjoy it, they go out and they swing the wood, but come on, lads, I mean, geez, they're batting far, they're facing too many balls.
And that's often the easiest way to have a look at successful sides and non-successful sides in T20 cricket. If any time your numbers 9, 10 and 11 are having to put their pads on or face any amount of deliveries, we're not just talking about just batting. Look at the amount of deliveries he's actually having to face. We're talking 2 to 3 overs at various points throughout this series so far, and that is too many balls. That's not taking anything away from his ability, but our top order players should be taking up those points or those balls, that time in the middle. It also then plays into the situation we talk about. Harry Brook, quite wonderful 50 he's got today, but when he just had the game of the scruff of the neck, if he just sees out that, it's not just a case of seeing out the over, or it's not a negative, it's giving yourself the best possible opportunity to capitalise against probably bowlers he finds easier to hit. Chakravarti's had a wonderful series. He's been the thorn in England's side throughout. Why not take the slightly smarter approach, give yourself the best chance, make sure you're the man at the end to see the innings through. I mentioned it earlier on air about Liam Livingstone wanting to bat up the order, wanting to have more deliveries, more of an impact. But if you don't bat long enough and you don't give yourself the chance, we're never going to see the consistency of outcome that you're after.
And I suppose this is the thing. This isn't a World Cup. It's not an ICC event. This is a bilateral series. And realistically speaking, these are the matches where you try things out, you experiment a little bit, you try and learn. Yes, of course you are trying to win, but in a way it's not quite as imperative as you win. So at the end of this series, because there is still 1 game to go, England have lost this series. What do you think England, and more importantly Brendan McCullum, have actually learnt from this, Jade? You know, what are the, you know, we always hear players nowadays of virtually all sports go, well, we'll take the learnings from this one. Not English boys, but let's not worry about that. So what are the learnings from these 4 games so far?
I truly fear that we could sit here and suggest all the things which have been laid out in front of us, not just from this fixture this evening, but from the previous 3 games, in the sense of we need more batting smarts, we need to take the game deeper. All these things which unfortunately go against the current white ball DNA of we're just going to go out and take this game on head on, and sometimes we're going to do it and sometimes we're not. So for me, when you have that as your fallback, I think it's difficult to take many learnings, isn't it? Because all it is will be we'll brush this loss under the carpet, we'll move on to the next game, and we'll just try come out on top in the next fixture by trying the same things. That seems to be the approach. I'm sure there's probably a lot more to it. Or I certainly hope there is, because for us as the viewing public, we're looking at that batting display and certainly saying if somebody just grabs the game by the scruff of the neck, a few cricket smarts, just be a bit braver in times where there's soak up a bit of pressure, take the game deep, all these old school thought process. I dread to say I sound a bit old saying that there, Macca, but yeah, just being a bit smarter and taking the game deeper and allow the likes of a Jamie Overton to not have to come in and think about how to rotate strike or which balls to take a single off or which balls he has to strike for a boundary. Make it pretty plain and clear. You come out, you've got the best part of 6 to 10 balls, clear the rope, finish off a game. That's what he does.
There is a part of the game that we are going to have to talk about. Shivam Dube, while batting, gets hit on the head, and because of that, he has to go and do the concussion test and protocols and all of that. And it was decided that actually he'd got a whack on the noggin, so he was entitled to be replaced. Harshit Rana was allowed to come into the game for him. Now, the wording on the concussion sub is that it is supposed to be a like-for-like player. Now, that is an incredibly difficult judgment. It's wonderfully vague. You know, are we saying that if it's a batter, you put a batter in? Or does it have to, if it's an opener? It can't necessarily be an opener who replaces him. It could be a middle-order player. If it's a bowler, does it have to be a seam bowler? Well, there's lots of different types of seam bowlers, lots of different paces. Harshit Rana is much more of a bowler than he is a batter, and Dube is more of a batter than he is a bowler. So, for whatever reason, Harshit Rana was given the go-ahead, bowls 4 overs, 3 for 33, and was a big difference maker, wasn't he, Abhi?
I think he was, but at the same time, I think the question was, because Shivam Dube bowls medium pace, it doesn't matter, he bowls at 115 kilometers an hour and Harshit bowls at 145. But you have to get a guy who can bowl medium pace. So the choice was either Harshit or Mohammad Shami. So they went with Harshit Rana. And yeah, if Nitish Reddy was still there in the squad, which he was previously, got injured, he's not in the squad, probably they would have asked Nitish Reddy to come in because they are a lot similar in nature, more of a batter, less of a bowler. But it's just unfortunate. But at the same time, I don't think that has been the deciding factor in this game. The deciding factor has been poor selection, shot selection from England players, and poor game awareness. Yeah, at the end of the day, there'll be a lot of highlighting on Harshit Rana's 3 for 33, but I genuinely don't think that's the difference in the outcome of the game. It was just India was better.
Well, I mean, the thing about this is the umpires can veto. You know, India will put forward, we'd like to bring this player in. The umpires will then get a say. And if they say, well, what about such and such? If India turns out, well, actually, I'm sorry, he's injured or whatever, he's got a problem, you know. What I'm saying is, the umpires could have said no. They've said, OK, fair enough. Now, there was a bit of to and fro at the start of the innings, because at some stage, Akshar had been off, and so there was a discussion as to when he could bowl. And then there was a discussion about who should be on, because we had a different sub earlier on in the innings. That's the umpire's job, isn't it? They run the game, and there's a match referee as well. If any of those 3 officials have got any kind of issue, they've got walkie-talkies, they're going to be having conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think a lot of times the team absolutely can just go, oh yeah, he's injured, he's got a niggle, and you can't fight that. But how do you fight if a team management comes to you and says, okay, we can't have it because he's got a niggle? So you're not left with many choices, and that's the grey area in the game. And unfortunately, today it's India, tomorrow it could be England who will take full advantage of that.
It is, unfortunately, a situation that will attract, I think, quite a lot of discussion. But I think we've just proven that. It is such a difficult area. It's that age-old thing is, prove it. We think that something might have, a bit of a fast one has been pulled there, but prove it. And that is the million-dollar thing here. So, look, such is the way of the world. And do you know what? On another day, Harshit Rana, let's not forget, he's come in on debut, in T20 debut, and taken 3 for 33. On another day, Jade, he might have got carted all around the park, and we're going, oh, what a great decision to bring Rana in.
I think we were saying that, weren't we, when Harry Brook had taken to him in his first over. So at that point, at that stage, we're thinking this is not the worst decision, in all honesty, from an England perspective. Can you bowl again? But Harry Brook then found himself making a poor decision and gets himself out. And now you've got lower order players coming in to face 145, 150 Ks. It changes the landscape completely. Lads like a Harry Brook, who at the top of the innings are more capable of dealing with that pace, it doesn't faze them quite as much as a number 9, 10 and 11 coming in to have to face that. And especially coming in with the run rate in which it kept climbing because we lost a cluster of wickets, his impact then becomes a big one.
Yeah, the cluster is an important word there. 62 for naught becomes 67 for 3. And then the fourth one goes down in the 90s. And then it's 129 for 5. 133 for 6, 137 for 7. It's that phrase that they always say, you know, don't lose them in clusters. Well, as fielders, one brings two, one brings two. You know, it's always the reason they're cliches is because there's an element of truth in it. And I'm afraid, you know, England have struggled to get an opening partnership. Well, we got that today, and then we lose 3 in the mat, you know, next to no time, and then you've got problems.
But I guess I know I've been rather, I said, somewhat negative in the sense of how we've managed to lose this game, because I certainly thought in vast majority of it we had the stronghold in it. The good thing from an England perspective is we're playing the world champions. We could all of a sudden isolate probably 5 overs of this fixture which have turned it completely on its head. If you just tidy up those 5 overs, all of a sudden it becomes a completely different landscape. We're then talking about the opening stand between Salt and Duckett and how effective that was. We are talking about how good we have been in big parts of the game in terms of our seam bowling, bashing into the surface, creating some doubt within the Indian lineup. There's so many positives. All there needs to be is a little clean-up of 4 to 5 overs of how we approach the T20 game, and we smarten up, and all of a sudden we can find ourselves at the top of the tree again very quickly.
Shivam Dube has been given the Player of the Match award, but interestingly, Suryakumar Yadav has collected it on his behalf. So if they are pulling a fast one, then they're bought into it hook, line and sinker on this one, India, and they're doubling down on it, because Suryakumar Yadav has come out and is doing an interview at the moment with Murali Karthik. Right then, series gone. What do England do in Mumbai? In years gone by, it would be, right, well, all the guys who haven't played so far suddenly get a game. Mark Wood was rested today. What do England do now? It is this new era of Brendan McCullum. He said before the series that there wouldn't be as much chopping and changing. So I guess, you know, Jamie Smith's availability will be interesting with his calf problem. What do you reckon they do, Jade?
The issue is, I guess, first and foremost, identifying what it is they think is the reason for the loss today. Whether they think what they have on the bench is enough to change anything significant in this short series that they've played, or is it a case of actually just giving this 11 another chance, another opportunity to turn up in Mumbai and make things right. There's a lot of unanswered questions in this sense, but as we've seen before, Brendan McCullum doesn't, like you say, like to make too many changes in the middle of a series. He tends to wait till after the series is done, but I guess he wants to try and collate as much information as possible. It's obviously good to see Harry Brook back in the runs now. I'd like to see him continue with that. It depends. I'm not sure how much wiggle room we actually have in terms of what's left on the sidelines to come in and how much of a difference it's going to make. They're almost like-for-like replacements that we've seen come in. So for me, I'd probably just stick with the same 11.
Right, well, I mentioned that Suryakumar Yadav has been speaking with Murali Karthik. Let's hear him.
Surya, was it the great escape today?
Absolutely. I mean, there was a top effort from everyone on the field, and obviously the great crowd from start till the end. They were always behind us, and there was a great support from everyone.
What was the chat? I know it wouldn't have been easy to convey to the batters in the middle. 12 for 3. Just the way everybody rebounded, and to get to 181, I'm pretty sure you would have been extremely happy.
We didn't want to go back after 10 for 3, and boys know what brand of cricket we wanted to play. I mean, 3 wickets in 1 over, it was too much for us, but the way they batted, the way they responded, the positive intent they showed in the middle, and the way Hardik and Dube showed their experience, I think it was great.
You said positive intent. Sometimes all of us, possibly people are watching, and all the old-timers were sitting up in the comm box. Sometimes we scratch our heads. I don't have any hair. We just scratch our head. People are coming first ball and running down the track. How does that happen? 12 for 3, Rinku Singh runs down the track. What is this positivity all about?
I mean, this is one thing we've been talking about, expressing yourself, and you bat the same way as you bat in the nets. These guys, the way they practice during the net sessions, I mean, that's incredible. And the same way they do it in the game. So I'm really happy. I think we are moving in the right direction.
Was there at any stage when England were batting with the kind of batting lineup that they have, you felt that this target could be overhauled?
I always knew that post power play, the 7 to 10, between 7 to 10, I think there was a time where we could control the game, and the same thing happened. We picked a few wickets and we controlled the game. And post drinks, I think when unfortunately Shivam Dube couldn't come inside, and Harshit Rana came in as a third seamer and delivered it for us. I think that was incredible.
Well, the captain is obviously happy. They have clinched that series 3-1. 1 to play. We'll be with you at 12:30 on Sunday to bring you the final game of this particular series. So at the moment, it is frustration from England. They're in a great position to level this series up, but India came up with too much power in the second of their innings, 181 for 9. They set England. England, though, I'm afraid to say, were not able to chase it down. 182 at 9.1 and over was the equation, but it was just too much in the end. 166 all out, 2 balls of the innings unused. India win by 15 runs. We'll do it all again with you on Sunday, so be with us for that.